Welcome to the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, where we bring you a weekly dose of powerlifting news, tips, and training advice with a touch of 80s rock ballads. This podcast is presented by Team Roar Powerlifting, your source of the most comprehensive coaching and meet day preparation. Here are your hosts, Josh Rohr and Lara Sturm.
Welcome to the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Lara Sturm.
And I'm Josh Rohr. This is episode 25.
And Happy New Year.
Oh yeah, Happy New Year. What is 25? It's a isn't it called like a quarter? That's not a quarter century. Yeah, it is a quarter century.
That would be a quarter of something.
That makes sense.
Episode
Awesome.
25.
Well, welcome to a quarter of
Awesomeness.
our 100 episodes. Anyway, we have two new followers on Instagram this week, Angel Rose and I'm embarrassed to say Team Roar Powerlifting. Apparently, we were not even following ourselves after I gave James Vang a hard time for not following us because he was a guest on here and he's one of our coaches. Yeah, that was a fail on my part. So anyway.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
Well, the fuck up fairy is flying all around last week, apparently.
Yeah. Well, I got so into the into analyzing the characters, I did make a few mistakes. So
So what characters are you talking about, Josh?
Well, Ernest primarily. So last week we were talking about Scott Calvin from the Santa Claus, Buddy the Elf from Elf, Ernest P. Worrel from Ernest Saves Christmas, and the other one was Christmas. Oh man, this is terrible.
From Christmas
Clark W. Griswold. Yeah,
yes.
I could see his face.
Deadlifter.
Who would make the best powerlifter in general?
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so the real mistake, I hung my hat on the fact that Ernest was able to basically go to that place. Because I mentioned in one of the scenes, he picked up some snakes out of the back of his truck. That was actually a lie. I went back and watched the scene. There weren't snakes in there. There was Santa Claus was in the back pretending to be a bunch of snakes so that people wouldn't look in the back because he was trying to sneak him into this place. Anyway, long story short, my whole argument got debunked off of that. So I'm kind of at a loss. I'm still going to say Ernest, but I didn't give the facts exactly right.
So you went back and watched the movie just to get the facts straight?
I went back and watched YouTube clips to get the facts straight.
I gotcha.
Yeah. So
Josh.
I was wrong.
So you're saying Ernest, are you still standing by?
I'm still standing by Ernest just because he's got some screws loose. And
you have to be.
He just seems like that. He just seems like that wiry, like small, scrawny, but super strong type frame. So I don't know. I feel like I'm going to go with him no matter what.
Well, I'm still sticking with Buddy and the Elf.
Yeah.
An elf because he believes.
He believes.
There you go.
Nothing wrong with
and
that.
The other thing that the fuck up fairy was flying all around last week. I sent an amazing gift to Josh Rohr for Christmas present, and I put in the wrong address. Josh's address is not what I'm going to say online, but his address starts with like 3838, and I put in like 3232.
No, it was actually just one digit. So
I was close.
So if it was like 3838, if that was the real one, you put in 3839.
Oh.
So it was off by one number.
Yeah.
And
I got a call from the Amazon driver saying, "Hey, can't find your house." And I'm like, I don't know why. My address is really easy to find. I forgot I put my phone number down for the present. So yeah.
So I was sitting in my office watching this happen because my office window actually shoots out towards the road. So I watched this Amazon, van park in front of the house, and I'm thinking, oh, cool, we got a package. They're there for about, 30 seconds, and then they just start driving real slow down the road. And I'm like, oh, they must be trying to find a place or whatever. Then 60 seconds later, I see them driving back the other direction real super slow. They kind of stop at the driveway again and then just kind of keep going. And then about 3 minutes later, I see them coming back real slow. And then they back into my driveway and turn around and go the other direction. And then
they're so close, huh?
They're so close. But then this happened like 5 or 6 times. Then they come back towards the house again. Slow down, and then just slam it in reverse and just like floor it. It seems like, because they're backing up, like they have to have a camera because there's cars parked on each side of the road, and they're just like backing up, probably going like 15 mile an hour, swerving in and out of traffic. Like they clearly just got to the point where they got pissed off. So I'm like, man, this
probably
like,
right before she called me.
So I was about to go out and say, like, go out there, because I'm like, look, there's kids in the neighborhood. Like, you know, I'm thinking, get your shit together. You're a delivery person. It's not that hard. Like, I know that would be out of line, but that's like what I'm thinking in my head. So I don't go out there, but then like another 60 seconds go by and they come flying through forward this time. And they go up to the end of the street, turn around and come back real slow. Kind of go real slow past the house. And then they just like speed off. And then about, 20 minutes later, I happen to just look outside and there's a package on the doorstep. So apparently they said, screw it, I'm not delivering this. And then they called you and you told them, I guess, where to go.
Yeah, we figured out that I put in the wrong address.
But I legit had no idea. Like,
kudos to that driver, though.
Yeah, kudos to that driver. But I guess I knew I didn't order anything. So I'm like, well, it's not my problem. But sure enough,
you almost didn't get the amazing gift.
I know.
So
speaking of the amazing gift, it's basically a beanie. I haven't used it yet, but it's a beanie. I know I'm waiting for the special occasion, but it's a beanie with a like a Bluetooth headphones and microphone in it, so you can wear it and listen to music and talk like you're on the phone, right?
And it just looks like a regular beanie.
It looks like a regular beanie.
Has really good sound quality. It's crazy.
You know what? I'm going to screw up. You probably got to take the receiver out before you wash it, I'm assuming. Or don't you wash it at all?
I have not washed mine ever. I do charge it, but I don't know that I've ever washed it.
So my thought, I haven't looked at it that close yet, but I'm thinking that it's probably one of those things that you can take like the electronics out of it and then wash it. I don't know. I'm guessing. I'll have to look into that. But lucky for us, I don't really wash my clothes anyway.
Well, it's a hat, just don't sweat that much. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yes, but it's amazing, and you can take phone calls with it, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
And I like actually listening to things while I'm trying to go to sleep, and earbuds like poke into your ears, so it's awesome.
I'm excited.
Best
I'm
gift
definitely
ever. Everyone needs one.
Yeah, I'm probably going to use it for like. Well, I guess that defeats the purpose. I was going to say use it like at the gym when I don't want to talk to people when I'm working out, but just wearing a hat doesn't give the signal like, hey, don't talk to me. So
That's true.
I guess I got to wear like the biggest, bulkiest headphones.
Wear headphones that are off inside.
Yeah, I've done that before. So if anybody's listening, if I have headphones on, whether there's music playing or not, that means I don't want to talk to you.
Don't. I mean, that's like universal.
Yeah.
And if you have a hat on, please also don't talk.
Yeah. And if I'm wearing a hoodie and if I'm wearing shoes.
Or just how about in general, just don't talk to Josh because he doesn't like people.
I am making a joke. I probably shouldn't be. I should make that disclaimer because some people might think that that's all factual. Like he really doesn't.
Well, the funny thing is when you're taking phone calls with that hat, like it just looks like you're
you look like you're a crazy person. Hello?
Crazy person talking to yourself.
Hello.
Yeah, that's always.
Hi,
awesome.
Mom.
Think you're seeing people, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
You ready for some rapid fire?
I'm ready. Let's go.
I got five ones for you. First thing that comes to your mind. Number 1, New Year.
Burning bowl ceremony. So on New Year's Eve, I'm going to a friend's house and we're taking things we want to get rid of that we've written down and we're burning them in fire so we can kill them with fire.
I like that.
Yeah, I'm not a big drinker. So
killing things with fire.
Yes.
I killed one of my cars with fire once. That wasn't really fire.
Insurance scam.
It wasn't really fire. It was it blew a hydraulic line or a transmission line on 85 going up to South Carolina on Easter. And let's detour a little bit. So I had a blue Dodge Neon with a luggage rack was my car in college. And I was driving it. I drove it down to Atlanta when I moved here. and I was driving up to my grandma's house in South Carolina for Easter, and I'm a good hour from home, and the shocks were already out of it. So every time you hit a little bump, it like bounces real bad. Earlier, the horn had shorted out. Did I tell you the story about the horn shorting out?
No. So was it just like blowing the entire time?
Well, this is a different day, but I'm just talking about the things that are wrong. We'll save the horn story for another. Remind me next week, because that one's really, really good. But anyway, so I'm driving, and then all of a sudden, like the transmission line just blew, and it was fairly crowded highways because people were traveling for Easter, and it was just like the most white smoke you could see. Like basically, I lost sight of everything behind me completely, and like people are beeping their horn and like driving by me, and it's just like this massive cloud of smoke. And that's where the Dodge Neon died. So luckily my parents were there, so they actually drove back from South Carolina and met me on the highway. No, they didn't. They didn't meet me. Tow truck met me, hauled it back to Quest, and I parked it at Quest, and then can't remember how I ended up they did come because they came and picked me up. Yeah. So they drove from South Carolina, picked me up, and took me up there. So it was a good adventure. So every time Hope and I drive up to Sherman's Lake House, we have a moment of silence when we pass that spot on the highway.
Be like, R.I.P.
Spot where the Dodge Neon died.
Dodge Neon.
And it's perfect because in the distance, there's right where it died, you can just see this enormous American flag hanging over the highway. So like every time you see the flag, like that's your reminder, like the neon.
So sad.
Anyway, that was a detour there. Back to rapid fire.
Rapid fire.
All right. So
come at me.
Bowl burning, you said number 1, right?
Yep.
All right. This one's dumb. I shouldn't have put this one on here. iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Yeah, I'm Android all the way.
Weirdo.
Yeah. First thing you think of when you hear social media?
Lame.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's kind of my thought too.
But it's if essential. If you haven't seen the movie, what's it called? Oh crap. That's terrible when you're like, see that movie. Is it called The Social Dilemma? If you haven't seen that movie, watch it. Start using your media. Don't let your media use you. Nobody made the iPhone to be an addictive, any phone, Android or whatever. Nobody intended that to be that thing that people walk around glued to their hands or in their pocket at 24/7. Like, no, break up with your phone, put it down, live life. There you go.
Yeah, I'm working on that.
Smash it, Josh. Well, don't smash it, maybe. Might need it, but yeah. Airplane mode is the best thing ever.
Yeah. I do like, so do not disturb. I like that too.
Yep.
But
I have no text notifications. I don't have Facebook and I don't have Instagram on my phone. So
here's another detour about my old crappy car / phone. So my phone is a Samsung S7 Plus, I think. And there's a glitch in that one where when you go on do not disturb, all of the notification noises that you get during that period, as soon as you turn do not disturb off, you get all of those notifications at once.
So it just goes crazy.
So it goes crazy. So literally every day I have about 60 seconds to a minute and a half of just solid text message notifications, Instagram notifications, emails. And so what I started doing, I got smart. I turned my volume off and then turn do not disturb off. That way all of those notifications are silent, but it's still pretty ridiculous because I have it set to turn off automatically. So if I ever forget, I'm just sitting, training a client or just sitting there and then the thing just starts like going off, like
going crazy, like you're super popular. I also have most of my notifications on most of my apps off. I think I have like, my phone is allowed to ring. And I actually have a breathing app that reminds me to take some deep breaths once in a while I'm working.
That's a good one.
It's a nice one. Breathworks is an awesome app.
Every one of my apps has notifications on because I haven't
turn them off. Turn that shit off.
Yeah, I haven't figured out. I'm sure I can figure it out. It can't be that difficult, but I just haven't taken the time to figure out how to do it.
There's also a great podcast on digital minimalism. that maybe I can send you a link to that I highly recommend. Just like we are addicts when it comes to technology.
Send me the link and I'll put it in the description of the podcast.
I will do. I really recommend it.
Cool.
All right.
Okay.
More questions.
Number 4. First thing you think of when you hear overtraining?
I think of a person's name and I shouldn't say it out loud.
Oh, you got me intrigued now. Is it somebody I know?
Yes.
Okay, let's play the question game. Or what is it? 3 questions. I get to ask 3 questions as hints. Is this person male?
Yes. They all are when they're training almost, aren't they?
Yeah, that's true. Did they lift at the Georgia State meet in 2020?
Did anyone lift at the Georgia State meet in 2020?
No, did this person?
Oh, I don't think so.
Are they a Georgia lifter? I should have started with that.
See, you're going to make me reveal the person, and I don't.
It's just yes or no.
It's someone who would always post on Facebook. I know it wasn't my week to max out, but I maxed out anyway.
Are we talking about a person I coach?
You did. At one point.
Okay.
Yes. So anyway, overtraining usually is guys with egos maxing out when they shouldn't max out, but we won't.
So there's a couple. I'm trying to decide who I think you're talking about.
Nope, we're moving on.
Okay,
All right,
we're moving
next
on.
question.
Fine. I really wanted
So I'm not going to call out people on here, and I regret saying that in the first place.
Oh, I'll do it. I don't care. All right. So you never answered though. First thing that comes to mind, minus that person's name.
Usually men.
Fair. Most underrated aspect of a good powerlifter.
Underrated aspect. So there's lots of aspects, certainly work ethic, mental attitude. I would actually say someone who's able to kind of go with the flow and be in the moment. I don't think people really think about that. It is part of the mental aspect, but I think a lot of people get caught up with their ego and they get caught up in the outcome instead of the process, especially in a meet, and or just start reacting to things that are going on when that moment is already past. Move on and be where you are.
Yeah, that's a good one. Just being in the moment. Hence being underrated. I guess I didn't think of that one too much.
Yeah,
but that's
well, but I think
important.
it's also why we do this sport too, right? Because there's nothing like being on the platform to pull you right into this current moment. Because if you're thinking about something else, oh boy, you're in trouble. It's kind of Zen-like that way.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Wowzer Bowser, as my mother would say. Yeah, she says that.
Wowzer, I'm going to start using that all the time.
Oh, please
now.
don't. Please don't.
I'm sorry. It's going to happen.
All right. So those are the rapid fire. There you go. I'm going to read
it.
the powerlifting situation. #PL situation. This was posted.
You're always so dramatic when you say that.
Because I feel like I need to be. This is my narration voice.
Got it.
This was posted today, I believe.
It was.
So the question is, you work out with a 16-year-old teenage boy that has been competing for 2 years. He currently walks around at 57 kilos. It has been getting harder and harder for him to make weight for the 53 kilo class. Nationals is in 6 months. He can most likely make the national team and compete at Worlds at 53 kilos, but probably not at 59 kilos. He asks you for your input about whether to cut or move up a class. What do you suggest he does?
So this got mixed reviews on the Team Roar Instagram. My personal opinion is, in general, if you've been competing for 2 years, then that's where you can look at cutting weight to be competitive and stuff like that. But a 16-year-old kid, I'm totally against that, especially if they're already having trouble making weight. I mean, obviously, for me, I'm going to let that be the parent's decision, but I'm going to tell them that I don't recommend it. And if the kid asks me, and like in this situation, I'm going to tell them I don't think you should cut weight, even though, yes, the opportunities to make a national team are sometimes far and few between, one of those.
Yes.
But I just think that kids that age are their bodies are growing, and to have them cut that much weight at that age, I think can just set them up to have issues down the road. And I don't think it's worth it. I know that's not worth it. Now, if you were to ask, so if I was this 16-year-old lifter, like I'm thinking back to 16-year-old Josh, like I was willing to do anything to, at that point to try to be competitive, because I wasn't very good at sports. Like I played football, but I wasn't very good. Lifting was what I was good at. So like I was willing to do whatever to make it. And you even see a lot of those, questions that come out like, would you take this supplement if it guaranteed you to make the Olympic team, if you knew it would take 30 years off your life? And so many people say yes. And I think I was probably one of those kids. Like if I was that 16-year-old, like I would be willing to do that. I don't care what damage it does. Like I want to make the national team. And I think that's so short-sighted. But again, as a 16-year-old, like you don't have those years of experience and the bigger perspective. And I think that's where I think that, a good coach, I think a good coach is going to say, no, your parents can ultimately make the decision, but my recommendation would be no, do not cut weight for that. Start putting on muscle mass and growing into your frame. Because like I said, what is it? 53, 4, 5, 6. I mean, that's 4 kilos, almost 10 pounds that you have 103 pound, no, 100.
Math is hard.
18, a really small guy.
Yeah,
and I
so
just
it's
think
a big percentage.
Yeah, it's a big percentage. And, your body's already clearly trying to grow at this point. So to not let it do that, I think is a mistake.
I would agree. If it was a, 28-year-old.
Yeah, that's a different story.
Kind of a lot different.
Yeah, that's a totally different story. And, I usually a lot of times go off of, 2 years competing. So they've been around for a while. So, I don't usually like people to cut weight in their first year as a general rule, no matter how old you are. But, usually going into 2 years, okay, we can start trying to be competitive and get that competitive edge. But with a 16-year-old, I think that's too early. And I think that's short-sighted. So I would essentially say, we're going to give up the chance to try to make the national team and move up a weight class. Especially, one of the things in here too is nationals is 6 months away. So you're already walking at 57. And the last time you cut weight, you had trouble, in another 6 months, you could be a full 59 kilos if you started putting on weight easily.
Especially 16-year-old boys, they go through growth spurts that are just crazy.
Yeah,
sometimes.
I mean, they might have trouble making the 59 kilo class in 6 months.
Right.
So
I think my son grew like an inch in like 3 months one time. So, yeah.
So I think with kids that age, you really have to look at the bigger picture. And even though, that that 16-year-old group, you're in the sub-junior category, and that lowest weight class is the least contested. So it's probably your path of least resistance to make a national team. But if you make it, you might do, damage that you can't recover from. That might be your one and only. So.
I agree. Get stronger, get bigger, and grow into your limbs.
Yeah, and just develop. I mean, the last thing you want to do is not develop the way you're supposed to, and then you're going to have issues. So,
right. All right, good tip, Josh. I like it. All right, so we're going to move on to the hashtag new lifter tip from a couple of days ago, and I saw this one online actually because I took 2 seconds to look on Facebook and saw this one, and I was like, yes. So true. So this one is take your time setting up for each set. Your setup should be the same in training as it is in a meet. Many mistakes can be avoided by setting up the exact same every time.
Yep.
Totally agree, because by the time you get to a meet and you lose your mind. And if you don't have that muscle memory you've drilled and drilled and drilled like 100 times, you might very well lose your mind and like forget to put your butt down on the bench, which I've done at Worlds. I mean, wow, like anybody can lose their mind.
Yep.
So try to practice to avoid that.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. You want as many things to be automatic as you can. And these are the simple things that if you just practice them the same way every time, because especially when people get so used to, let's just say, squatting in the same squat rack, looking at the same wall, they know where their eyes are going to be. They know, they have these reference points. So they might be using, looking at a mark on the floor as to where to put their feet. Well, you get to a different squat rack or a different gym or the competition, you don't have that same reference point. So practicing it the exact same over and over, where you can get to the point where you're not using those external things, you're just able to do it. And this is something that I haven't done in a while, but I used to have all of my lifters for a while set up with a blindfold. So they would wear a blindfold every time they walked out a squat. They'd wear a blindfold every time they laid down on the bench and got set up. So they had to feel for the rings instead of look at it. So like everything was just based off of feel. And that actually made them a lot more consistent. I kind of, until we started talking, I actually forgot about that, but that was something I used to do.
Now you're like, it's coming back.
Yeah.
Everybody's just watch out.
Everybody's going to be blindfolded next week.
That sounds a little kinky.
Yeah. Kinky. That just made it really awkward.
That's what I was trying to do, Josh. I just like getting awkward on you.
I wasn't even thinking that until you said it. Now I feel weird.
You're welcome.
All right.
Josh's meat songs.
Yeah, let's move on. Change the subject. So we're up to squat 3. We've done our squat 1 and 2 songs. My 2 songs that are my go-to for squat number 3, Bruno Mars, Uptown Funk, and Eminem, Till I Collapse. So these are most people probably have heard of these songs versus the other 4 songs for squat 1 and 2, but these are a little more mainstream, a little more oomph, we'll say.
Oomph, that's a good word.
Oomph, yeah.
I can't listen to Eminem Till I Collapse unless I'm lifting, because I start like getting jacked up and anxious.
Oh, I'm the same way with every one of these songs. So like even squat 1, Garth Brooks Rodeo, like that's just a pretty chill song. But like if it comes on, like I have to change it because I'll just like start getting that like little
start
tick.
Getting hyped.
Yeah. So
I'm with you.
Crazy.
Not about Garth Brooks specifically, but
yeah,
I understand you.
You understand. Question for you. I saw some of these things going around. Obviously it's the new year. So a lot of people are making New Year's resolutions. Lara, are you a fan of New Year's resolutions? Why or why not?
It was funny. Dan and I were talking about this the other day. I'm not a big fan of New Year's resolutions because I think a lot of times people are like picking just a weird, it's just starting. And a lot of times people like put it off. Like, I'm going to start eating good January 1st. Like, okay, it's November 28th. Maybe you should start now instead of just eating like a asshole until January 1st. Just do it and get started wherever you are. That's why I'm kind of not a big fan of New Year's resolutions. But at the same time, Dan had a point. He was like, if it's something that someone is using the momentum and they actually do it and it works for them, awesome. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, if it works for you.
This hasn't been me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't actually make New Year's resolutions, but I always like say a few random things like, these are my New Year's resolutions, knowing full well I have no intention of doing them, but everybody's like talking about New Year's resolutions. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to, I haven't even thought about it this time, but
start liking people.
Yeah, I'm going to start liking people. I'm going to start, eating better, but I don't take any of it seriously because I guess resolutions to me they're not an action plan. They're just like, oh, I'm going to get rich in 2021. Like, okay, great. How are you going to do that? It doesn't matter. That's my resolution. So, I think for me, I prefer like setting goals and actually developing a plan to get there. So resolutions to me have always just been kind of a funny thing to say, almost like a white elephant Christmas gift, like something funny for somebody. Some people, I mean, but again, like Dan said, it works for some people. So not knocking anything that works, but just
I'm going to fucking stop swearing. Let's face it. We know we're not. I'm not.
Starting now, and damn it, I'm going to be starting now.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes people, when they make up their minds to actually do something, like really make up their minds to do it, then you do it. But if you want to sit there and play with it in your head, whether or not you're going to do it, you probably won't do it.
So funny enough that you mentioned stopping swearing. That actually is one of my for real things that I'm trying to work on. I used to never swear until I probably met you and Hope, kind of both of you, and the three of you just ruined me. But yeah, so I'm actually for real trying to back off from that. So
I don't swear at work.
Yeah.
So I can control it.
Awesome. So that's what we should do. We should start keeping keep a running tab of like every time I swear on this podcast, and I'll have to do something for every
burpees
time I swear. No, I'll never swear again if
burpees.
It's burpees are the worst. They're stupid. There's no point.
You just don't like them.
That's true.
Because you suck at them.
And I'm making the argument that a lot of people are making about politics. Well, they're stupid, instead of actually having a coherent thought.
All right. So Josh, I have a challenge for you.
Okay.
Max push-ups.
Max for every time I swear?
No, just I want you to come back next week and tell me how many push-ups you did max in 1 minute or so.
Because what's why?
Just for fun, because I just want to know.
Okay. All right. I will.
Because it's doable. And
so, question: do I get to like rest at the top, or does it have to be continuous motion?
You can rest at the top. You can even go to your knees and kind of shake it off, or whatever. But in 1 minute.
If you go to your knees, that's set over.
That's breaking it. Okay, so we're going to say no breaking. You have to stay in a push-up position. Okay. You can stop motion.
But I can lock my elbows and kind of rest. You
can lock your elbows and stay at the top and rest, but you can't sit there for 10 seconds and just do one push-up every 10 seconds or something.
Yeah.
Okay. That'd be 6.
That'd be 6.
Report back.
What did you say? I would do 6?
You'd do 6 if you did one every 10 seconds.
Oh, got it. In a minute. Oh, so I'm doing it. It's timed in a minute, or it's just how many I can do total?
Well, most people will fail within a minute. If you can keep going for longer, go for it.
Yeah, but if you're allowed to rest at the top, like you said.
Yeah, but not for a stupid amount of time.
I need very clear rules here because I'm going to get every advantage I can.
No resting for more than 2 seconds at a time.
Okay.
A count of 1.
So it's going to be like
2.
20.
Okay. Well, then that's what it will be.
Yeah. We're
going to work on push-ups.
Yeah. Okay.
And they can't be shitty push-ups.
I don't do shitty push-ups.
Okay.
I just cussed.
Do a burpee.
No, we'll start next week.
Fuck yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up there. But we are live streaming these recordings every time we record. I think we'll be back to Thursday nights next week. Is that correct?
Yes.
Record podcast comes out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts on Friday, but we do record Thursday night at 5:30. So if you guys want to listen live and chime in with your comments on Instagram, follow us at PL Ballads Podcast, or shoot us an email if you have any questions you want us to talk about or topics, plballadspodcast@gmail.com. Happy New Year, everybody.
Merry New Year.
Merry New Year. Bye now.
Bye now.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode of the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, please remember to subscribe and share it with your friends.